Hey guys, what I'd like to do in this video is share with you some smartphone stories from this week and give you my opinion on them. The first one is the Xiaomi Redmi Note 6 Pro. Little bit of a mouthful there. The Xiaomi Redmi Note 6 Pro. Now, the Redmi Note range has always been very popular, and it really has defined the mid-range market over the last couple of years. You can see that it's got a Snapdragon 636, a Adreno 509, 4000 mAh battery, 6GB of RAM, a 6.26 inch display, but it does have the notch. Got a micro SD card slot there as well. Now, interestingly, I was quite interested in this because the specifications for the camera are actually quite similar to my Pocophone F1. It's got, if we see here, here we go. It's got a 5 megapixel and 12 megapixel sensor on the back. Now, at the front, like the Pocophone F1, having the 12 and 5 in the back, it also has a 20 megapixel sensor on the front. But it's also got a 2 megapixel sensor for dynamic depth. I thought that was quite interesting, especially in a mid-range phone. So what we're seeing now, we're seeing in 2018, we're seeing that even mid-range phones have got really good cameras on them. It's saying here €215, $215, 185 euros. I did a search for the price though, and it was coming up £184, so it's coming up £185 there. And I think, is this the 4GB version? Right, so this version is the 4GB of RAM version, but there is a 6GB of RAM version. So that's a little bit higher than what they're saying. I expect if I shop around, I will be able to see it at a cheaper price somewhere. But right now, it seems to be Gearbest, seems to be the one that's been sold. There's a 3GB of RAM version there as well. £154. So across the board, I think this is an impressive phone. Granted, if you are going to be paying close to 200, you might want to look at the Pocophone F1, the phone that I reviewed this week. But as far as a mid-range phone goes, I definitely think the Redmi Note 6 Pro should be one that everyone should consider. As I said, over the last few years, if you look at mid-range phones, the phones that everyone's kind of referred to and used as a comparison would be the Moto G range and would be the Xiaomi Redmi Note range. So I have no doubt these are going to be very popular. So next story is about the Oppo Find X. Now, this is an absolute beast of a phone. It's arguably one of the most innovative phones this year. It really was. I mean, look at that design. Who needs bezels? So this has got an on-screen fingerprint sensor, but it's also hidden the camera. And look where I've put the camera. So the phone basically slides out and reveals the camera. And it's rather than the pop-up camera which we saw in some other phones, this one, the whole phone slides out. And it's a really interesting idea, and it wouldn't surprise me if this becomes standard. I've already seen some other phones being listed as having this. Phones that are going to be released are going to be using this technology, so we might see this being standard over the next few years. But that's not what I want to talk about. I have talked about this in the past. What I want to talk about, this is the specs, by the way. Sorry, I should have showed that before. What I want to talk about is that this beast of a phone might become more of a beast. So this is the Oppo Find X, 8GB of RAM. It's got the Snapdragon 845, Adreno 630, etc. 3730 mAh battery, 6.42 inch screen because, well, it doesn't have any bezels. But what everyone's been talking about this week is this page. Now, obviously, I don't speak Chinese, but if you look down here, you can see that down here it says 10GB of RAM and 256GB of storage. And everyone has been talking about that. It seems like there's going to be a 10GB of RAM version of this phone. So there's going to be a variant coming out that's going to have 10GB of RAM. Now, that to me is a little bit crazy. Like last year, 4GB of RAM was the standard. That's what I had in my HTC U11. This year, 6GB of RAM is the standard. But some phones have went a little bit further and they've offered 8GB of RAM. But 10GB is obviously a little bit more than that. It's funny because RAM seems to be one area where phones have been really pushing it over the last few years. We've seen RAM, that's 4GB and that was last year. And that one's going to be 10GB of RAM. So we're really seeing RAM being pushed forward quite a lot over the last few years. I still think at this point, I think it's overkill. I think next year 6 and 8GB of RAM could be the standard on flagship phones. 10 gigabytes seems insane, and to be honest, I can't think of any reason why it's even necessary. But this is what you see with a lot of these Chinese companies. They're all trying to outdo each other, and they all have a sales point as far as why you want to buy their phone over someone else's. So a bit of a specifications war. The other one story I wanted to talk about was the Pixel 3 and the Mate 20 Pro. Now, there's been a leak, essentially, and the Google Pixel 3 and the Huawei Mate 20 Pro have not been released, but someone saw DXOMark was updating their website, and they took a screenshot, and it's showing the Huawei Mate 20 Pro as the best smartphone camera of this year. Now, I'm not saying that their ratings are always perfect. I've disagreed with some of them. But what they've got is the Huawei Mate 20 Pro is the best phone this year, and then they've got the Huawei P20 Pro, which is, like 6 months old, so it's quite impressive that that's still there. Then they've got the Google Pixel 3, then the Huawei Mate 20, then the Xperia Z2 Premium, and then you've got the iPhone XS Max and the XS. Now, I think it's quite interesting because obviously these phones aren't out yet, but it's quite interesting because most of the time, at the end of the calendar year, you would favour the phones that come out at the end of the year because they are like 6, 7, 8 months older than the ones at the start of the year, despite having the same chipset and all that. And you can see here with the Huawei Mate 20 Pro, it's actually got 3 cameras in the back, but they put in a square with the flash in the middle. And I think both of these cameras are going to have a notch. But I think this is interesting because, this is what sells phones today. It really is. If you're looking at what phones are promoting and why they're justifying such a high price, the camera is nearly always what they focus on. They're always trying to push the camera forward, and it really can distinguish why some people buy one phone over another. Certainly when you're paying such a high amount of money for it, the phone is the main feature that you're upgrading for. If you don't care about the performance of a phone, performance of a phone's camera, I would argue you're as well just buying something like the Redmi Note 6 Pro. Buy a mid-range phone. You don't need to spend a lot of money on a phone if you don't need a good camera. You really don't. So we'll see what happens. Maybe they will tweak their scores. Maybe that won't be the final score. But yeah, a lot of the rumours I've seen recently have been on the ball. So we'll see what happens though. Be interesting to see what these phones are like when they come out. Now, this isn't really phone related per se, but I guess it says a phone number, so I guess it's related. But this story talks about Facebook, and I can't remember the last time I've talked about Facebook and said something positive. All the times I've talked about Facebook recently, it's always been about things like this. It's always about them taking advantage of you with your personal data and things like that. Now, what they've done here, and this has pissed off a lot of people, is that they've asked you to secure your phone and, secure your account by using your phone as a 2FA device. So, hey, if you we'll send you a text message and then you can log into your Facebook account securely. It means no one can guess your password or anything like that. But what they've done is used that number to target you with ads. It's absolutely disgraceful, but it doesn't surprise me in the slightest. This is a major problem that we've got with a lot of these social media companies, is they're really pushing the border as to what's acceptable and what's not. But in my opinion, that isn't acceptable. You didn't ask to be updated with things like that. You simply used it for 2FA, and yeah, very, very frustrating. Now, this story relates to Apple. So this isn't really a news story per se. I think I saw some people talking about this, and they were saying that the Apple iPhone XS battery is terrible, and I don't think that is the case. Now, I'm not someone who craps on Apple for the purpose of it, and in this case, I don't think they've done anything wrong. I think their phones right now are they're ridiculous. The pricing is insane, but the new XS and XS Max look like great phones. You really can't take that away from them, but obviously their claims aren't on the ball. And it says here that the iPhone XS and the Max do fine in the battery life test, but fall short of one Apple claim. But this really isn't any surprise. Whenever any company claims to offer a particular amount of battery life for different things, in this example here, they've got talk time and they've got internet use and all that. Companies always fall short. They never never get close to what they claim. It's just one of those things that happen in the industry. They say that you'll get a certain, you know, I've seen it with laptops and tablets and any kind of computing device. They'll claim that you get a certain amount of battery, but it's always under, like, you know, certain conditions, Wi-Fi and all this turned off. But if you actually go down, they've got some battery benchmarks here, and if you actually look at them, I don't think the XS and XS Max are too bad. Now, the one that's dominating this table is the Apple iPhone 8 Plus, and they've got it 10 hours 35 minutes. Now, the Apple iPhone X, which was released at the same time as the 8 Plus, that one's got 8 hours 41. But it is important to know that that's obviously, it's a smaller phone, but it's got a huge display. So they've had to use a smaller battery, you know, and they've got the larger display. And the display is one of the things that uses up battery life the most. In comparison to last year, the XS seems to be down a little bit. So it's down by 4 minutes. So their battery life is actually shorter than last year. But not by much. You're really saying it's really the same, really, if you look at it. But the other thing is the XS Max is actually a lot better. So if you compare the Max to last year's X, then you're getting an extra hour or so. The big thing here, though, isn't battery life. The big thing here is charging time. And this is the major problem. It's saying here that, where is it here? We tested with the stock Apple brick that comes in the box and found out that you'll need the whopping 3 hours and a half to top the largest ever battery in an iPhone. So if you've got the XS Max and you want to charge it, it's going to take 3.5 hours. Now, I don't think the battery issue here is relevant. I think the battery life here, if you look at the stats and you compare them to other phones there, Samsung Galaxy Note 9, etc., I think that the XS and XS Max are acceptable. But the charging time is not. 3.5 hours is ridiculous. Now, anyone in the Android world who's used to quick charge will know that that is a ridiculous amount of time. And I realise as well, there's a lot of research showing that if you charge the phone slower and things like that, the battery will last longer. I understand that, but in today's society, I would expect anyone who buys an iPhone XS Max, you're going to be paying way over $1,000 for it. If you buy that phone, you don't want to be waiting 3.5 hours to charge your phone. You want a quick charge, and you want to charge up to a certain level very, very quickly. So, yeah. So you might have to buy a third-party charger to charge your phone, which doesn't surprise me. Apple will probably sell that as well. And lastly, really just to kind of tease what's coming soon, it's the LG V40. They released this advertisement. It really doesn't show you anything. If you scroll through the video, it doesn't show you anything. It really just shows you the back of the device, and then it kind of just shows you it's spinning, and it looks good. But this is quite relevant in that it's got 3 cameras at the back here, which you can see here. It's got 3 cameras at the back and it's got 2 cameras at the front. So this phone is going to have 5 cameras. Now, the V range has been very, very popular over the last years, especially over the last few years. The V20 and V30 have been very, very popular. You'll see what happens. It's a little bit early to see what this is going to be like, but these phones have normally been quite good and have normally had quite good cameras as well. It certainly looks like a very sexy phone. But yeah, we'll see what happens. A bit too early to make any claims as to what it's like. They'll release the specs soon. So you can see here, for official word on the phone's other specs, we'll have to wait until the LG V40's October 3rd launch. So we'll see what happens. So guys, thanks for watching, guys. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you'd... please do check the... I was going to say if you'd like to. If you'd like to check the comment area below, I don't know why I started that sentence like that, but if you'd like to check the comment area below, check the description area. I will leave a link to all of these pages so you can check them out for yourself. If I've showed you anything in this video, it will be a link below. Have a look at these pages. Let me know what you think about them in the comment area below, and I'll speak to you all very soon. Cheers, guys.